I decided I'd have to put it down in writing. The thing was that I wasn't capable of putting it in writing, so I went to a writers' group and I met Veronica, who was a ghostwriter, and she was over the moon and got in touch with HarperCollins immediately. And they said, do it. So, and they had 9 publishers wanted the book.
You're joking?
The agent was astounded, but HarperCollins got it, and they published it for me. So.
And what sort of print run did you have? How many were printed?
I can't remember. I know it sold very well.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I've done very well library-wise, because, of course, in this area, the book was loaned out several times, so
brilliant.
I do get a sort of commission for the library loaning it out.
Yeah.
So, but it was a fantastic job, and I loved every minute of it. And when I retired, I went to work for a GP, and we started the first service of visiting the over 75s at home and getting them lots of help and, free chiropody and things like that. And then I was made to retire at 66 because that was what they did then. And then I lost my husband too, and I thought, well, I could do all sorts of things. So I entered a competition in Help the Aged and won, and the prize was a wing walk.
A what?
A wing walk.
Oh, what, on the aeroplane?
Stood on top of an aeroplane, yes. I didn't like that very much, I must say. It was very frightening.
Bloody hell, you did it?
But I did it, yes.
In your 60s, what? 60?
I was 75 then.
Jesus Christ.
And then I did 2 free-fall parachute jumps.
What?
Yeah. In aid of Yorkshire Ambulance, because I was doing so many daft things, I thought I'm probably going to need them. So I did 2 free-fall parachute jumps, but the doctor wouldn't let me do any more because my blood pressure was a bit dodgy. So, yeah. So I joined a writers group, and we've had a lot of fun with that. And then I now belong to a knit and natter group. I think we do more nattering than knitting, but we get together.
So back to pit nursing in the pit.
Yeah.
So you started. So when you say you were surveying the whole pit, and you were going up and down the lift shaft, and that was a part of introducing yourself to the pit culture and the pit life, and getting to know the familiarity.
I mean, my dad had been a miner all his life. Right. My brother had worked down the pit. A lot of the boys that I went to school with, but we're all so pit now. And I'd lived in Woodlands. I was the first sister at Brosworth Colliery in the early 50s. They'd never had a sister before. And they built a medical centre, and I was employed as a sister there. And there were over 3,000 men at Brosworth Colliery.
So how many nurses were there in there?
Me.
Just you, for 3,000 men?
Yeah.
And you were called the sister?
And I was called a sister.
And was your, what's the word, posting or your job, was it an unusual kind of, were you kind of a pioneer? Or was there always a pit nurse?
There were sisters at other pits in Doncaster area, but Brodsworth had never had one before.
Really? So these guys had to survive without the care?
And of course, at first it was, because my dad was a senior official at Brodsworth Colliery, I was either Harry Smith's eldest, Tony Smith's brother, or head girl from Woodland School.
Really?
Nobody would appreciate that I was a qualified nursing sister, you know. They just wouldn't. But then I started doing things like syringing their ears for them and giving them injections and things like that to save them taking time off work to go to the doctors.
Right.
And that went down very well.
So did they get paid when they were, say, if they had to go to the doctors, did they lose money? Or when you say you helped them, for example, you syringe their ears and they'd have to go and leave to do that, would they have not got money if they'd gone to the doctors?
No, they'd
have lost their
shift.
They'd lost their shift.
Yeah, they had to go in their own time.
So then you're kind of popular because you're saving them money and you're making them well.
That's
so you become a...
And of course, as soon as... I had to syringe my father's ears first, just to make sure he survived. And then I had to start a special clinic because so many
You'd be familiar with this wax then?
Yes, very familiar. So lots of the men wanted their ears syringing then. So.
Really? I suppose because noise creates whack, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So these guys are full of it.
Oh. And of course, there were odd things like my dad taught me how to chew tobacco because, of course, the miners can't chew chewing gum or anything because it gets coated in coal dust.
Oh, God, right.
But if they chew tobacco, they've got to spit it out. They can't. They mustn't swallow it.
Right.
Otherwise, they came into the medical centre a sort of green colour, and I knew exactly what they'd done. You know, I used to say to them, "You swallowed your tobacco." Yes. Well, there was no treatment except a lot of drink water and.
So what are the effects of swallowing tobacco? What does it do to you if you swallow tobacco?
Well, it's like swallowing solid nicotine.
Oh my God.
I know.
So is it like?
Made them feel very sick, and they just felt poorly, and they looked poorly as well. So there were lots of things.
So what was your first kind of accident?
My first accident was at Brodsworth Colliery when I remember that I'd never done industrial nursing. I'd come straight from hospital.
Yeah.
And this man fell from scaffolding and nearly scalped himself on the way down. And they brought him into the medical centre, and of course he was bleeding profusely. And I mean, every pit then had their own pit ambulance, and all the pit ambulances were navy blue. So all the village knew
something was going on.
The pit ambulance, yeah. But he lived. We saved.
So when you say he nearly scalped, he lost the skin on top of his head.
Yeah, but we saved him. We got him to the hospital in time, and they were able to get him to theatre and, you know, do some stitching and some plastering, and he did live. So that was my worst one at that stage. But since then, after work, when I worked at Hatfield, I was on first call for Bentley Colliery, and we had a man fall down the shaft there, and that was pretty horrific. So.
Really? How long was that fall? What, 500 feet?
He fell about half a mile.
Holy shit. Sugar.
Of course, there was hardly anything left of him. We gathered his guts on the way down, and his legs were ripped off and everything. So we went down with the mine safety, who were fantastic young men, to recover the body, because they couldn't declare him dead until they had the body. So we had to go right down, and the mines rescue had to go in a sling over the edge of the chair down into the sump of the pit to recover what they could. So that was pretty horrific. So.
Jesus.
There you go. That was part of the job.
And had you reckoned with that before you started? Did you actually envisage that kind of thing?
No.
That was a shock to you?
Yeah.
It was a shock to anyone.
But I think at the time when you do things like that, you just do them automatically. You know, if you're working in industrial medicine or industrial surgery, you expect to see things like that. I mean, I did a British Petroleum. I mean, a lot of the things were people recovering from a drunken weekend or a drunken lunchtime, or, you know, or cut their finger on a paperclip or something. And I got a call this morning, would I go up to the 4th floor, and I took a bit of plaster and a couple of coarse swabs. And when I got there, the man had actually closed one of the windows and not moved his hand quick enough, and the window had come back and chopped the end off all his fingers. And I went into this room, and it was absolutely spattered with blood. I thought, what the hell's going on? Anyways, we got him to hospital as well. So, and we couldn't save his fingers, but he didn't bleed to death at least. So, but you expect all sorts of things, and you've got to be prepared for it. And you mustn't show the type of reaction that a normal person would show, because otherwise what good is that to the people you're looking after? If they think you're scared of things like that, they're not going to be very happy about you treating them, are they?
No.
So
how often did you go down the pit? When you say you're a pit nurse, and you're a full-time pit nurse,
yeah.
So you're down there every day, 5 days a week?
I didn't go down the pit every day.
You were on top?
I went down the pit. I worked on the pit top. I had my own office in the medical centre.
Right.
And I used to go down the pit about once every 2 2 or 3 weeks with the underground first aid men to check all the first aid boxes and make sure they were all intact. And
Right.
I'm running out of things to talk about now.
Well, don't worry, I'm there. We can go quiet for a while. Don't
Can
worry.
I?
Yeah. Don't have to keep going. I'll talk. I'll give you. I'm enjoying your head.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying your head. It's very difficult, modelling and talking. I'm finding it hard because when you talk to someone, you want to look in their eyes and you want to, naturally, you just show, you're looking in my eyes now. You're not looking at my chin and you're not looking at my ear, are you? So it's weird, and I think for you, it's difficult when I suddenly go around the side like this.
No. And disappear.
And you go, oh God, and it suddenly becomes self-conscious with what you're saying, and then I don't know if it's a natural thing or what, but I reckon it's probably quite difficult.
Yeah.
And it's all very strange. And likewise, I usually work in absolute silence.
Yeah.
In my studio.
Well, I've been on Look North.
Oh, really?
And I've been on Calendar.
What's that?
A television programme.
What about Good Morning Britain?
No, I didn't do that. All Loose Women. I think the one I went on, I think it was called Live 5 or something.
All right.
And they give you you have to pick out 5 records that you would.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then he talks to you after he's played the record.
Yeah. So it's got like Desert Island Discs.
Yeah, that was quite interesting.
So did you have to choose your?
Yes.
And what did you choose?
I chose the man that sang "Bring Him Home," Alfie Boa.
Alfie Boa?
Yeah.
He's doing stuff with the other guy from the West End, and he always has a Christmas.
Yeah, and I chose the one, "Stand By Your Man," because I said that's what you're supposed to do. Can't remember if any of the others are, but them two stuck out in my mind quite a bit. So it was quite good. And Veronica took me all over the place. We gave talks in Durham and.
Veronica, you'll publish your.
My ghostwriter, yeah. We talked in Durham and Hebden Bridge, and libraries were quite interested in the story.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew what the pit nurse did.
No.
And then I found out that there's another book called At the Coalface. So I think HarperCollins have slipped up there. Yeah. But it's written by a Nottinghamshire miner's wife.
Oh.
And it's mainly about the pit strike. Because, of course, Nottingham, a lot of them didn't come out with us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've heard this, often about, Staffordshire and Nottinghamshire stuff. So, Bentley, how long were you there?
Well, I only went on call there. I didn't actually work there. My base was Hatfield Colliery.
Yeah.
But I was on call for Markham and Bentley. Well, you were on call for anybody that wanted you.
When was the Bentley, what year was the Bentley disaster?
It was 78, I think.
And what actually happened?
A paddy became derailed and 7 men were killed. Not very nicely, actually. But I didn't leave the medical centre. I worked in the medical centre as they were coming out and treated them. And
I'll take your scarf off.
yep. Can you all reckon it?
I'll actually look down the necklace now.
You're not going any further down, will you?
No. I used to see how the neck works with the back of the skull.
Oh.
The way a head hits the shoulders and the back of us is very important. It tells a lot about a person.
Yeah.
What they've been doing all their life.
My hair used to be a lot better colour than it is now. But it's ageing. Now I'm 85, everything's ageing.
85?
Yeah. I'm 86 this year. Still got all my marbles.
You certainly have. You've been skydiving only 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Good God.
I wouldn't do that again, though. That was scary.
I wouldn't do it now.
He fixed me on top of the wing, you see, and said to me, don't worry if the chair moves because it is a stunt plane. So as we went up and curved round, the chair started to slide towards the end of the wing. And I was really, really scared then.
God's sakes.
Yeah, but I did it, so.
But it wasn't pleasant.
But the parachute jumping I loved. I absolutely adored that. Most fantastic. Everybody should do it.
Really? It's a sense of freedom, or?
Or should stand at the edge of the aeroplane and fall out of the door and then just do free falling. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. But they wouldn't let me do it anymore because my blood pressure was all out of the road. So another thing that goes with age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've had a heart attack and a stroke and everything else. That
Stroke?
Goes. Yeah, I've had a stroke.
Well, you obviously recovered very well from that.
Yeah. I will not be defeated by things like that.
Jesus. God. Well, I don't know how it's going, but we're moving on. How many minutes have we done? 20 minutes? Oh, that's good. 30 minutes.
Have we?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to put the wax under my armpit to keep it warm. You have to forgive me.
I'm not talking anymore. I've talked too much.
Well, you're here to talk, so that'll be a bit of a downer.
What else can I talk about? You know.
It's great.
Talk about the funny things the men used to say.
Well, what about I mean, what I'm learning about a lot is terminology, language, and I'm trying to get together what you call a glossary of words, because there's an incredible language down the pit.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of language that you heard? Not bad language, but things like.
I very rarely heard the men swear.
Really?
When I was down the pit, I very rarely heard them swear. I mean, I don't know whether FART is a swear word. But when I always wore perfume underground. Yeah. Then the men knew that I was around.
Really?
I always wore apple blossom, Helena Rubinstein's apple blossom.
Really?
And of course, when I got my pit gear on, I looked like a cadet, you see, because I had short hair and I was small, and I wore pit boots and helmets and things. And I waited for the chair one day at 4:30 in the morning, and I heard one of the men say, "No effing in the chair this morning, because Sister's on board." See? And somebody said, "How do you know that?" And this man said, "Because I already smelt her." No. So this man said, "Oh, so she's already effed, has she?" So he said, "No, she's got scent on." So and they all laughed. I mean, at that hour in the morning, it was freezing cold, and they could think of and make funny remarks all the time. So.
Was it cold down?
It was in some parts. In some parts, it was very hot.
Yeah, because I mean, they were sweating. I mean, the guys are wearing.
They just wore trunks.
Shorts and trunks and.
Yeah. But in the cold parts, they had to wear, duffel coats because it was bad. So I mean, I used to walk from Hatfield Colliery. Our egress, word you want to know, egress way out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
If the shaft was closed at Hatfield, our egress was Thorn Colliery, which was 5 miles underground.
So you're walking 5 miles in the pits to the next colliery?
Yeah.
So there was connections to other collieries underground?
Just Thorn. Thorn was our egress. So I used to walk through to Thorn, to check the first aid boxes, and because Thorn wasn't a working pit, because it was very wet, so that they never really got round to working it.
Really?
There was a lot of coal at Thorn, but it was too wet to work. So we used
to. So they built the whole damn pit, and really it wasn't.
It worked for a while, and they got a German. I don't know if a man that sinks pit shafts and things like that. And they lined it with concrete, but they have to put pumps every so often down the shaft to get rid of the water because there was so much, and it never really. And of course, when the war broke out, they had to stop because the man was a German. He couldn't carry on with the work, so Don never got back to working.
So did he go back to Germany, you think?
Yeah. So it was quite, but there were lots of fossils.
Yeah, I heard this last night.
Yeah, you could get lots of fossils from the ground. So.
What sort of fossil? I mean, it's basically wood, I suppose, trees and.
Yeah. Yeah, trees and some shells and all sorts of odd things.
And what colour were they?
I can't remember colour.
Were they black or were they...
Well, they were in the black background of the coal,
Yeah.
but you picked out what they were. So,
Amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's blooming deep. I mean, half a mile.
yeah. So I used to walk down through underground. You had to go under the canal, through to Thorn, and then come up Thorn Colliery, and then the van would pick me up at Thorn and bring me back to Hatfield. So.
God.
And we used to stop off at the fish and chip shop and get some fish.
Yeah.
So,
So you were any other pit nurses in the other collieries, or were you the only one that serviced the whole of Doncaster, as it were?
oh no, we all served. Everybody went wherever they were wanted.
Yeah. So when you had a disaster,
Everybody went.
everybody went. Oh my God.
I mean, the thing at Bentley was the police in Doncaster were fantastic that day. They stopped all the traffic between Bentley Colliery and the infirmary. And our ambulances were, I mean, and at that time, the ambulances from all the surrounding pits came to Bentley, so we could transport the men quickly. And GRI was on red alert, and they took all these men, and it was really so well organised. It was fantastic.
Wow. And that was all drilled, I suppose.
Yeah,
Worked out.
we'd never had one before.
No.
We
So that,
had-
and that was 75.
That was in 75. I think the last one was in the 30s at Bentley. So, and there were a lot of men killed out that time. So,
And do your nostril for a minute. I go round and round and round, and slowly it gets more and more into focus.
right.
It's very warm in here. I'm not used to the wax being so soft.
No, you're sweating.
I am sweating. It's hot. It's hot. I'm used to freeze. I don't have any heating in my life.
Oh,
I'm used to a very cold studio.
whereabouts do you usually work?
I come from Suffolk, in East Anglia,
Oh.
which is very rural.
Is this the first work you've done in the mining industry?
Yeah. I'm a sculptor,
Yeah.
and I usually make my kind of own sculptures. So I'm kind of out of my comfort zone, really. I mean, I first...
Where is this thing going to go when you finished it?
Well, there's talk about outside the sort of council offices, and there's cultural quarter it's called now, or the site of the old coal board.
Yeah.
Do you know where that is? I think people begin to want to know that it's going to be well featured. I think
Yeah.
the feedback I'm getting, I've done about 5 or 6, well, I've done about 10 talks now to various communities around Doncaster.
And are other people that you're going to sculpture, are they all miners?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to obviously get people like you who are related to mining but not directly mining.
Yeah.
And I'm getting things like strike baby. I've got a young lady coming in tomorrow who's a strike baby, born in the 80s, but her father's a miner.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a cross-section of people that are not just miners, but a majority of them are going to be miners. I think about 8 or 9 miners. I'm going to have a miner's grandson. Thought they'd get the other generations.
Yeah.
He's coming tonight. That's Mickey Lanigan's grandson.
Ah.
So Mickey Lanigan will come in with him and they'll talk.
Oh, you tell Milky Lanigan
I will.
Sister Art was asking after him.
I will. Sister Hart. Brilliant. Because he had an accident, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get a cross-section of people, so there's a few viewpoints and different experiences to be told,
Yeah.
And I learned a lot doing these talks
Yeah.
from people who are, wanting to tell me the histories,
Yeah.
from what pit ponies underground and the culture underground, the whole history of
Yeah.
how people got on, the camaraderie between men.
It was fantastic. Really
Yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, what I'm getting the message, I'm kind of building a picture in my head.
Yeah.
And the idea that, okay, the work
And
was...
it was in the village too. If anybody got injured who lived in the village, there would be collections and,
Yeah.
people had run his wife to the hospital and everybody's stood by everybody else.
The kind of generosity of the
Yeah.
community is extraordinary, isn't it? And getting that
Fantastic.
impression.
That's fantastic.
And how do you feel it's changed since?
After
all
the
that?
strike, it did change because there were a lot of. I mean, I had 7 men came back to work at Hatfield Colliery.
When you say 7 men
and they
came
were
back
scabs,
right.
and they were called scabs. And the
What,
bus
during the strike?
during the strike, and when the bus used to bring them down to the pit in the morning, you know, it wasn't very nice. There was a lot of anger and hatred, but as they said to me, some of them, they had to come back to work because they had no money. So,
Well, everyone's got a story, isn't it?
oh yes,
And you can't.
but they were never anything else but scabs, even after the strike. Lots of them had to leave the village because they'd stoned their houses, and it was quite nasty. But that side of it I didn't get involved in because I'm not a union person.
No. But your job was at risk, I presume.
Oh yeah.
I mean, did you get down to the picket line much, or did you stay out of the way?
Well, we used to have to start first thing in the morning, so we used to meet at Tesco car park, all management, and then we'd squeeze into as few cars as we could, and then we'd have a police escort down to the pit.
Because you were working, because you
Yeah.
had to look after the men
Yeah.
who were working.
They, and then we were left to make our own way out. I mean, we never had any really serious problems with the picket line at Hatfield. Most of the men that were causing problems on the picket line weren't our boys.
Right.
You know, they were brought in to cause problems. So
Recruited or
this is what I understood. I mean, as I said, I didn't get involved because it wasn't my job to get involved. So. But it wasn't a nice time at all. So
How long did it last?
I think it was just over a year. These things I didn't want to write about it.
No. Did you write about it? Is it a book?
Veronica made me. She said it had got to be part of the thing, and I didn't want to write about it, but
It's pain, isn't it?
yeah. I didn't want to write about the Bentley, but she said I'd got to because that was part of the book. So
I mean, I suppose in a sense you have a responsibility to write about it. Because
Yeah.
you're a witness, aren't you?
yeah.
I mean, and I suppose life in its extreme tells you about people under stress,
Yeah.
in a sense, tells you about
Yeah.
the nature of the thing, don't they?
Yeah. They were very protective of me because I was the only woman at the pit, and the management looked after me quite well.
I remember I've seen your photographs. I've got books with you in. The one in the back with you with your gear on.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was you. I think I've even done a drawing of you.
Yes, I think the children at the Excel College did.
Yes.
They were absolutely
Wasn't that
fantastic.
brilliant? Were you there?
I gave a talk there when they were writing their book,
Yeah.
and I took my checks and my pit
Oh, right,
boots and
yeah.
my helmet and everything, and they thought it was. They didn't even know what coal looked like.
Oh,
And I had a piece of coal that had come out of Brodsworth Colliery, and I showed them, and they were amazed.
okay. Really?
Yeah. Because, of course, they don't have coal fires now. They don't. It's just sad, isn't it? So, this is why I love to go to the Mining Museum. I've given a lot of talks at the Mining Museum because I love all those sculptures that the men have done from
Oh,
coal.
amazing. There's a piece of furniture there in boxes.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And it's a lovely place to go. I've been down the pit there, but it didn't appeal to me at all because there was no noise.
Oh, interesting. I went down there.
When you
think
go,
it's a really genuine experience.
yeah, when you go down a normal pit, of course, there's machinery going all the time. But down there, it's so quiet that it didn't seem normal to me. So.
Would you call it a safe environment to work?
What down?
Pit? I mean, were you busy? I mean, were you like active every day with injury and?
Yeah. Lots of men got hurt.
I mean, this.
To them, a lot of the things that happened to them, there used to be a lot of black nails, which were very painful.
What's that then?
You know, where you get
Stuff around up the nails.
you get a blow on your nail and the blood collects underneath and you get a black nail.
Yeah, blood blisters.
Yeah. So they're quite painful, and of course a lot of men lost the end of their fingers in machinery.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't this trauma clinic that they've got now at Doncaster, which they dealt. I mean, then if you lost the end of your finger, well, you just went to casualty and they just put got a flap of skin and put it over, and that was it. But of course now they treat the nerve endings, which is most important, because if you get the end of your finger ripped off, you've still got nerve endings at the end. So there's a lot of pain attached to it.
So if you don't sort out the nerve endings, does your finger stay in constant pain for the rest of your days?
Yeah. So that was another one that was very common. And of course blows on the head. There were a lot of men got injured, and bad backs, of course, were very common.
Yeah.
But they were very brave men. They didn't like to go to doctors unless it was absolutely essential. So.
Yeah.
Right, now I've run out of things to say now.
All right, don't worry about it. I'm just looking at you now.
Drink some more water, Jim.
I haven't had time to drink it, have I?
He talks a lot.
I know.
So your husband, what did he do while you were working? So he was with you here. Your first husband, did you say?
I only had one.
He came, he was ill, wasn't he, in London? I am trying to do your head as well.
I didn't make a habit of it, you know.
Don't frown too much, you know. You're not going to end up being sealed forever, you know. But he recovered, did he, then, from his...
He came, we'd only been up here 3 months and he had another heart attack, and I managed to get him to Sheffield, to the Northern General, and a fantastic surgeon, Mr. Smith, operated on him, found that his heart was in a bad condition, but he did a bypass on him, and the bypass lasted 15 years, and then he had another one. He had several more heart attacks, so he had another bypass, but he never really got over that one. But in all, he had 20 odd years more than he would have done if we'd have stayed in London.
Yeah.
So.
And he was happy with you being a pit nurse?
Oh yeah, he used to come down to the pit every day. He'd sit and talk to the men, and of course if they had heart problems, he'd talk to them about the heart problems, and he could help them with his experiences.
Yeah.
So. And of course I didn't drive then, so if I had a call out during the night, he would get up and take me to whichever pit I was going to.
So it was double act.
So he got to know all the pit places and everything. So he was a fantastic man, and I loved him to death, and it was awful. But we never had children, unfortunately. I think I sterilised myself when I worked in radiotherapy.
Oh,
so.
really?
Well, I never wore lead aprons when I nursed the children when they were having radiotherapy, you see. So, but you didn't think about it in those days. I mean, nowadays the nurses wouldn't stand for things like that.
Well, I suppose.
But then I just did it because that was part of the job, and I adored nursing. I never did anything else but nurse. So.
So you did the radiotherapy in London?
Yeah. That's a sign of old age.
It's not at all.
You should just get some knee pads.
I need a nurse.
Buy yourself a pair of knee pads.
Oh, good Lord. If you were on a high chair, I'd be all right.
Oh, so it's my fault. Typical man.
Oh dear. I can't do your hair until the end. I have to get the shape of your head.
But it's not going to change in the next few weeks.
No, it's not, is it?
I was much better looking then when I was 21.
You're a very attractive lady.
Yeah.
I think you still have a charm.
And everybody says that. I mean, that's what nurses wore then. Aprons and frilly caps. And
So what was it like in... so you moved down to London. Did you like London? You come from this area, don't you? You come from Doncaster.
I hated London.
You hated it?
I lived there for 20 years and I married a Londoner and I hated it.
Right.
I used to have to come home to Doncaster to my dad's at Woodlands every so often so I could walk on some grass that didn't belong to the council or something.
Gosh, yeah. Yeah.
I hated it.
Whereabouts in London did you live?
Shepherd's Bush.
Right, so you're west, as it were.
What a place that was. But if you got to know the people, they'd die for you.
Mm.
You know, they were really loyal to you if you got to know them. And when I was on the district, I got to know some fantastic people, especially around Portobello Road and South Ken.
Mm.
You know, we had ladies, Lady Barclay I used to look after, and lots of people, and they were really interesting to work for. But it was the riding a bike in London wasn't funny at all.
No.
You know, it was quite terrible. I mean, and the people that looked after you better were the lorry drivers. They were just fantastic. If you were in uniform on a bike, they didn't push you or swerve you or anything. They were fantastic.
But it doesn't half as busy as it is now.
Oh.
So how did your husband take to living up in Doncaster then?
He loved it.
Did he?
He became a school governor and a councillor, and yeah, he was good. He was good. He was a fantastic man. As I say, I loved him to death.
Yeah. So did he consider himself to be sacrificing something by moving up here with you, leaving his home, as it were?
No, no. I think he got tired of London as well, you know. And he knew he was ill.
Mm.
He realised how ill he was.
You're obviously the best person to have around when you're ill.
And it was marvellous. You know, everybody said he won't settle, you know.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. He went back down once or twice to see his brother and his mother and people, but he was always ready to come home again. So.
Yeah. We're not there yet.
Thank God for that.
You're a very good model.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Don't stop talking, but you're very good.
If I was more sensitive, I'd say you were very rude.
Well, Joe McQuaid said you said what you think, so I had a sleepless night worrying.
And I had a sleepless night wondering what you were going to do, so it'd be good to get to bed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, tomorrow's Burns night. So
Is it?
I shall have my kilt on.
And your haggis?
I shall be eating my haggis and my neeps and tatties. And
Fantastic.
I put my kilt on. I've got my kilt.
Have you?
I had a kilt made in Pitlochry.
Really?
In the Buchanan tartan.
Is that a particular name that you...
Well, I was... The family were Dows, but it was such a small clan.
So you were Scottish and you were Scottish?
My grandfather was, yeah. But the Dows were so small that they amalgamated with the Buchanans. So I had a kilt made in the Buchanan tartan. And I love haggis, so...
Yeah. Do you make your own?
Yeah.
How do you make it then? Is it,
Oh, I don't make it.
you buy
it. I buy it. And of course I love my whiskey, so...
Yeah, I bet you do.
Do you take this long to do every one?
No. Well, it's going to be 2 hours, yeah, each one. But I mean, portraits usually take weeks. And but we usually have, if I have a portrait subject, I usually have a big proper head,
Yeah.
and it's usually in clay. and they come back every week, and we do a 4 or 5 hour session.
Oh my God.
And then I'm measuring all the time.
I bet they're exhausted.
Yeah, but this is much more of a sketch. This is just an impression, really. And
I hope you get my nose right.
so do I.
Nearly.
Don't frown too much,
Oh,
unless you want to be seen as a...
no, I don't.
When you're talking, you have your eyebrows going. When you're listening, you're going like that.
Oh.
So I'm not going to do much talking.
No. Well,
Yeah.
I've been wondering, you see, how they were going to depict all these people, what they were going to
I know. Well, I mean, it's very interesting when you come to these talks.
Have you spoken to Dave Douglas at all?
No. Who's Dave Douglas?
He was a big union man at
Oh.
Hatfield. I used to call him Shirley Temple because he grew his hair long.
Really?
He hated it.
He's not the. Is it not the? It's not Taff. Is it? What's his name? Tosh.
No.
Tosh.
He was a rail, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's rail.
A lot of them, are not with us anymore.
Mm. Well, that's why I think it's quite important.
I forget that, I'm 85.
Yeah.
And they must have had harder lives than I've had, so they might not be alive anymore.
I'm amazed by the ones I'm meeting. They're a lot of them are fit, but I suppose the ones that are surviving are fit guys.
Yeah. Well, they worked hard, you see.
Yeah, muscles and. Can you just turn your head that way? Because my knees hurt. That's right. So you can now concentrate on your nose now. I'm scared now.
Good.
Good.
I like to scare
Yeah,
men.
don't need. You like to scare men, I suppose.
Yeah.
That comes from. Did you have to assert your authority down the pit? Did you have to go?
Yes.
Did you have to earn respect, or was it immediate?
No.
How would you earn respect? I mean, how would they say, she's all right? Did
Well,
you have to?
for a start, they never called me by my Christian name.
Right, so it's sister.
I was Sister Hart to everybody.
Right.
Some of the sisters, the men called by their Christian names, but I said no, because once you start, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
So I was Sister Hart to everybody.
I mean, there's also that point. I mean, it's a bit like me naming my goldfish after my children. And then the goldfish dies,
Yeah.
and it's suddenly a bit awkward with the son, child. But it's a similar way. You don't really want to get too close to the people you're treating.
No. I mean, I did get close to families, like some of the men that were losing a lot of time because their wives were ill. I would get them shifts that worked so they could be with their wives, during the day. Sort
Right.
of thing. And then I would go and visit their wives because if they had cancer, I'd got the experience to talk to them about it and discuss things. And then one man lost his wife and his child, well, his little girl was 12, and he wanted somebody to tell her about her periods and things, and he hadn't got a female relation, so he asked me if I'd see her. And the little girl came down to the pit and we had a long talk and things like that.
Yeah.
They all became part of the job.
Sort of social care, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Before it was kind of defined. I mean, so this kind of, here in the army now, and the soldiers in Iraq and all that sort of stuff, it is a PS, what do you call it, post-traumatic, PTSD.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing now, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about the kind of, I suppose they call it a macho culture, and the guys that won't complain, and the guys that won't sort of admit to kind of, I suppose,
They wouldn't.
nerves or whatever.
They
But I mean, what we're saying is that it's a very kind of stressful environment, and the tension and the stress comes from dangerous work.
Yeah.
Not wanting to let the side down, or keeping your.
Yeah.
And
I think just a lot of it was dangerous work. I mean, you don't go down into the bowels of the earth and crawl on your belly.
No.
you know, and hear things creaking and think at any minute the roof could fall on top of you. I mean, it's got to be stressful, hasn't it?
Yeah. And the minute you, I mean, if you're carefree and not stressed, you're not safe.
You're not safe, no.
And that's. I was talking to someone.
You're a danger to your mates, and you can't allow that, you know.
Yeah. I was also talking to someone about when the pits closed down, there's sort of kids that are a bit wild, and the kids that were got a bit more spirit about them, I suppose, in a sense, and caused a little bit of problems out on the top, as it were, surface and that sort of thing. They would have been given quite daring jobs underneath. They'd have been sent up the kind of strange places and holes investigating stuff, and their kind of spirit would be used in a way that would sort of calm them down in a sense. And that kind of social cohesion, that kind of social care, really, that community care, that what was up top could be dealt with down below as well. It was very, very interesting, I thought, that, that once I'd gone, you know, I suppose a wayward kid has got to find another vent, and often that can end up in trouble, can't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how young were they when you, how long were your youngest kind of?
The boys were 16 when they came into the pit.
And were they kind of nervy, scared, or?
Some couldn't even go down.
Really?
You know, I used to spend a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, but quite a few hours actually travelling to the coalface with them.
Really?
And then I'd have to bring them straight out again because they'd have panic attacks.
Wow.
So we had to then reassure them and tell them that, you know, they weren't weak or anything. We'd just find them a job on the pit top.
How would they be treated by the other men?
Not very good to start with, but once we got them another job on the pit top and they became electricians and things like that, and their fathers realised that they weren't complete outcasts, they were accepted.
So do you think there's pressure from the fathers?
Yeah.
So they.
I mean, what father wants a son that can't go down the pit when you live in a mining village? You know. I mean, a lot of the men said, my kids won't go down the pit. We won't allow it.
Won't allow it, yeah.
But there weren't a lot of them because it was the only work that they could get.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and was it really the only work? Sorry. I mean, what other job prospects would you have in the community if you didn't have a mine?
Not many. Not many. I mean, there was only factory work, and we didn't have a lot of factories.
Yeah.
I mean, there was British Rail. If you could get in on British Rail, it was quite good, but there weren't a lot of jobs for boys.
And so what sort of kind of discipline would you get down in the pit then with the kind of fathers and the children and the sons and stuff? Would that stuff be done up top out of the way? I mean, if that's father was...
You didn't, if you could, I mean, lots of the boys liked to work with their dads because they picked all the, you know, their tricks and things up from their dads. But lots didn't want to work with their dads because they weren't as good as their dads, and they didn't want to show, you know, any fact that they weren't as strong.
Kind of weaknesses or...
Yeah. But we didn't have a lot of problems.
I mean, did you what? I mean, okay, over a 10-year period, for example, you watch a 16-year-old go down, and you see him develop underneath.
Yeah.
I mean, are you seeing a boy that's maybe kind of, what's the word? Okay, he's not natural mining material, and you watch him slowly, I suppose, become a miner, and he's kind of a... Did you feel there was social pressure on him? Was he like someone that's been moulded by a community, or...
No. They were too strong for that.
Yeah.
When I first went to the pit, they said that I'd got to get some pit boots because I needed the proper equipment. I took size 5.5, and they'd only got size 6 in the stores. So they said the next lot of boots wouldn't be in for quite a long time. So I sat and watched these kids coming out of the pit, and I thought, yes, there's a nice little boy, with nice little feet, my boots. So I called him in, and I said, I've been watching you walk across the yard and you're limping. And he said, I don't think I am, sister. I said, I have been watching you, and your boots are too small. And he said, but I've always taken size 5. I said, well, I'm afraid that you need a 6. And he said, but they'd be too big for me. I said, no, you put an extra pair of socks on, because when you work down the pit, your feet swell,
Yeah.
and size 5 is too small for you. So he said, well, if you say so. Gave him a little note to take to the stores to get a size 6. And he said, what shall I do with these? I said, don't worry about it, just bring them in here and I'll get rid of them for you. So I got my size 5 boot.
Brilliant. Gosh. And was he happy with his size 6s?
No. We soon got used to it. You just put another pair of socks on. Doesn't it affect your stomach, chewing all that stuff?
It's like chewing gum, isn't it? At the end of the day, all the backs of my teeth and inside are all full of wax. It's horrible. I don't know why, I don't even know I do it. You just pointed it out to me. I kind of forget that I do it. I need 3 hands. Because, yeah, what can I do? I've got to get a little bit off there.
I'm sure there must be a better way.
I'm getting told off by a pit nurse now. It's like toffee. You know, quality streets that...
Can't you have it flavoured?
That's a good idea. Apple flavoured wax.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people do it this way to actually get a brand going. I don't know how common...
That actually looks like my brains.
Oh, God. You haven't done that bit yet, don't worry. Do you want me to keep that bit?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get subtle in here. All those wonderful movements.
Do you know, I've never been in this place before.
Haven't you really?
No. I didn't even know where it was.
Gosh.
I must have been in about 6 doors before I actually got in the right door.
They're good people here. It's
Yeah.
really beautifully, what's the word, appointed. It's got great facilities.
Yeah.
I've been walking around and the staff and everyone are really, they've been brilliant with this. I mean,
Yeah.
look at this, all the resources of,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I must try and get a copy of that that sketch that the children at the Ike's College did.
Did they draw you?
Yeah.
I read their book, it was brilliant. Did you put stuff in that?
I
That recent book they
must have talked to them for about 2 or 3 hours.
Really?
I mean, at first they were really interested in the mining bit, but when I got down to the wing walk, the parachute jumps there, they couldn't stop asking questions.
So where did you fly?
It's in Lincolnshire. Hibblestow.
God.
No, the flying bit was down in Cirencester with the Utterly Butterly.
Utterly butterly.
That Utterly Butterly aeroplane, you know.
Right.
Yeah. It was horrific. I'd never do that again. And they were doing it for Complan. It was an advert for Complan, for old people. And so a plane was flying at the side of me with this man taking photographs of me on top of the Utterly Butterly. And he kept shouting to me, wave and smile, and I thought, yes, and up yours as well. There was nothing for me to get hold of. I was sat on a little seat, it was like a bicycle seat, so the pole stuck up my back.
And was there other old people doing it, or were you the only one they had, as it were?
I was the only old one, yeah.
So you were important to the whole campaign?
Yeah, and my sister went down with me, and when we got on the train, I said to her, just get me a double whiskey, will you? So this man sitting opposite said, it's a bit early for that. And my sister said, she's just done a wing walk. He said, I'll buy her a whiskey. So I did quite well by the time I got to Doncaster.
How long did it last?
About 15 minutes, I suppose.
God, it must feel like hours.
Oh, it seemed like hours. And he said, do you want me to do some loops? I said, no, I
What?
don't. Just go up and come down again.
Good God.
But I've done it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're one of the few human beings that have.
Yeah.
I don't think I've met anyone that's done a wing walk. I never thought you could. I thought it would be a highly qualified...
Lots of people do it.
Do they?
Now I wouldn't be able to do it because the insurance is so high.
Yeah. Yeah, things have changed, haven't they?
Yeah. The parachute jumps, we went up 15,000 feet, did a free fall for 10, and then he opened the parachute for the last 5.
God.
They were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I loved it, really loved it.
How many did you do?
I did 2. I wanted to do another when I was 80, but the doctor wouldn't let me.
Did you have to obey him?
Yes.
Would they not let you go without a doctor's note?
Well, he said that if I did it, I would die. So
Oh, right.
I didn't see any point. When I did a hot air balloon, I went up in a hot air balloon from York.
Okay. Okay.
You got to stop now.
No, he's gone off to get a camera.
Hmm?
He's gone off to get a camera. As if there's not enough in the room.
Are you all interested or bored or?
Yeah, very interested.
Is it making good telly?
Yeah, it's great.
Don't you worry, you relax for a while, don't have to say anything. I usually have a break, but we can't because we're being filmed. Get a cup of tea.
So at least I'd get coffee or something.
I know. I'm going to give you a bit more body in your face now. I think you're looking a bit sallow. I don't want you to look angry.
Oh.
I want you to look lovely.
Oh,
Don't worry, I'm not trying to...
you're flattering me again.
No, I can't do that. It's wax. It doesn't look good at the best of times. I can assure you, when it's in bronze, it will look much better. It'll probably be a dark bronze. And I cast it all myself. I have my own bronze casting foundry.
Do you?
Yeah. So I have people working there. Now,
So
they're
you've
working
got
now.
Quite a lot of work to do up here then
Yeah.
for this.
It's mad, I don't know. It's very, very interesting because I really have come with an open mind, you know. Come to listen to people, to find out what really people want me to say. I mean, yesterday I give these talks, and yesterday I gave a talk and I showed loads of drawings of the stuff I'm interested in doing. And one woman said, look, you know, it's all about one talk will say, look, I want to see a miner with a pickaxe, I want to see his chest out, I want to see big trousers and big boots, and the guy at the back will go, we've got those in every mining town in the country, why do we want another one of those? And the guy goes, well, you know, that's what it's like. And they go, well, I think we want something a bit different. And they go, I want to see a pit head or something. And another guy will go, well, actually, no, I don't want to see a pit head, I want to see it's all about family.
Yeah.
It's all about family and community and the brotherhood and all that. And I'm going, well, okay. So by the time I've finished, I've had 5, 10 people, you know, talking to each other, not having arguments, but saying what they think. And I come away going, well, what the hell? Where do I go with all that?
I thought things like the men coming out of the pit.
Yeah.
But there's lots of statues of that anyway.
Yeah.
I think the statue that impressed me more than anything is the one for the seamen.
All right.
I think that is absolutely
And where's that?
fantastic. I forget where it is now, but there's a lot of publicity about it at the moment because it isn't the anniversary of the trawler men that were lost.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, for example, okay, we had this talk yesterday, and I did this talk here. A lot of people in the audience, brilliant people, all come and had the photographs done as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to get your photograph done later, by the way.
Oh.
And they all sat down at the end, and you know, they say, well, they're bringing objects now as well. They're bringing Davy lamps in. They're bringing.
I've got Davy lamp.
Really?
I've brought me checks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because if you were a sister at the pit, you usually went down on visitors' checks.
Mm.
But I went down so often that they printed my own. So.
Really. And these, I mean, see, I learn about these. I learned these are because I'm a southerner, and East Anglia hasn't got many coal mines. So I learned that the checks are really, really very significant things. I mean, they're your identity. They're almost show you your time, how much time you've done in
Yeah.
the pit. I mean, the quality, I mean, they're extraordinary things. And they're,
Yeah.
they're brass, they're bronze. I
Yeah.
mean, I cast bronze. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
aware. They're like Roman coins almost,
Yeah.
the significance of them. So
Yeah.
I've got to get those in, you know. They say how many, I hope you're going to get every, you know, colliery or pit town's name in this sculpture. And so you think, oh God, how am I going to do that? And you realise that all the names are on the checks.
Yeah.
If I cast the checks and put them in, or on people, or on the base of the sculpture, or
Yeah.
on whatever I decide to make, then the sort of the pit names are getting in to the
Yeah.
sculpture.
Well, I've got one from Thorn. And mine from Hatfield.
Yeah? Wow, look at them. And are these pins?
No, that was my kilt pin.
We had one of those yesterday where a bloke had a big safety pin. That's a nice one, isn't it?
That's Thorn Colliery.
299.
I don't know who that belonged to.
Oh, it wasn't yours?
No, they
Has this
were
got your
mine.
name on it?
Yeah.
Sister Heart. God, that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just stamped out by hand.
Yeah.
What's on the back? Your number? No? Look at that, Sister Heart.
Yeah.
Actually, a very nice name to have as a nurse.
Yeah.
Sister Heart.
Yeah.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
See, what
I
can
never,
do.
I can never remember. You see, you had one turned in when you went down the pit, and you gave the man on the chair where you gave him the one when you went down, and when you came out again, you gave him the other one, and this
Yeah.
was the only way they knew that you were out of the pit.
Because your check was going to get a close-up. We're going to get close-up on that beautiful lettering. I was trying to push it onto there, see if a name would appear
Yeah.
on the wax, but it won't. These mean so much, don't they?
Yeah.
Did you like the National Coal Board?
Did I like them?
Yeah. Because there was big hope when they came in, and I read the book.
Yeah.
And they got private out, and mine stopped, and National Coal Bill came in to sort of...
It's actually, when you think that a lot of the boys were trained quite well with the National
Yeah.
Coal Board, you know, electricians and plumbers and surveyors, and they got a good training,
Yeah.
which gave them a thing in life to be able to do. So, and now there's nothing like that.
No.
You see, nothing. So.
Do you recognise yourself yet?
No, only my brains.
Gosh, it's going to be quite a challenge, you are.
I recognise my nose. You're doing my nose quite well,
Are
actually.
you happy with that? When you do eyes, I don't ever put an eyeball in with a pupil.
No.
It ends up being really silly. I always give an impression of the skin around the eye.
Yeah.
And,
Don't put all the wrinkles in.
I'll try not to, but with
No.
this stuff, you put a lot of thumb
What do
marks
you mean
in.
you'll try not to? You've
Well,
got...
no, you haven't got any.
Oh,
I mean, I thought you were 62.
oh, thank you. I'm liking you more by the minute, actually.
We've got about 40 to go. I'm quite pleased with it so far.
Good.
So anyway, so we have these chats after my talk, and these people go, well, you know, we want to see the woman, the female wants to be behind the man, the wife is always there in the end, and that sort of stuff. And you go,
Yeah.
Christ, okay. So I end up I woke up at 4 in the morning with an idea, so I have to get the light on, sketchbook out, and I spend 2 hours this morning drawing ideas with family.
Yeah.
I thought this morning, and they're not necessarily the ones that go in, but you can't get it in, you've got to get it out of your head, and drawing gets it out of your
Yeah.
head. So this morning I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the woman, so the bloke sitting there, you're going to have woman behind him with a hand on his shoulders. And then they look down at a child who's playing as though they're toys with all the mining paraphernalia. Davy lamps, helmets, pickaxes, snap tins, Dudleys. And it's just like an array of all the mining tools and equipment. And this child is playing with it.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a really powerful kind of... it talks about the fact that mines don't exist anymore. this guy, all his stuff is now just play with the child. It's about how much the child knows about the mining history because it's no longer being used, but he's got the stuff around him, he's familiarising himself. And then there'll be coal, and there'll be checks and motties, and all the words and terminology will be around the side. So I drew all this last night, so that was last night's idea. The drawings were horrible.
But the idea was there.
I think. Yeah, so
That's a good idea.
You get really carried away with it.
Yeah.
You think, okay, every time you have an idea,
Yeah.
you, I might, if we get time, show you some on the computer. And you think it's the best idea in the world.
Yeah.
You think, I've got it, I've cracked it, I'm brilliant, I'm the best man, I don't know.
No, it's a very good idea, actually.
And we see that brings
Because
family into it.
I don't know how else you do it.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult. It's difficult now that people don't remember the old days.
Yeah.
You know, they don't remember what it was like, and so it's difficult to depict it so that people will know what you're trying to show.
Yeah. And I mean, what was I say now? I mean, what was I going to say? I had to work out when I first started this. Okay, I thought, okay, I'm a sculptor. I do big blokes, big figures. But that's why I've been asked. They carry heavy weights and all sort of stuff. That's me, spot on. I come here, I'm going to do a bloke doing his stuff, pickaxe, you know, in and out, no problem. Problem is, I meet a load of people and they're very, very nice. Yeah. And I think, you've got stories to tell me. And I think, oh, okay, you care very, very much about this. This is a much bigger thing than I expected. And I've walked into a community, which is quite a rare thing. Where I come from, you know, it's quite broken. But here, there's an incredible bond between people and their shared history. So I think they really, really, really care about this. Yeah. And when I first did the press conference, 3 ex-miners turned up and said they hated my idea, that they looked like miners coming. There were 3 miners coming out of the ground, all at different periods of history. So one was an old-fashioned Victorian one had all the garb, and they were coming out of this pit head out of the ground, and they said he looks like they're Darwinian kind of evolutionary people, you know, like the ape turning to the man. And they said they look like they're coming out of the primordial swamp. We're not going to have that. You can't depict us doing that. How dare you? Oh, God. You know, I'm a sensitive bloke. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I thought it was a good idea. I said, no, you're not having that. And so they started to tell me about their lives and stuff, and I realised there's much more to learn. Yeah. So I started coming up and doing these talks and learning, and realising I'm now here to serve the community and not make what I want to make. I'm here. This whole thing is a journey which is much more important than just me and what I want to do.
I'm sorry, but you'll never get it right.
No, I'm learning that. Because everyone's got this idea. But what happens is, when I do these talks, people go, you've got a really hard job on. And at the end of the day, they usually say what you say, which is, God, I don't envy you. You've got a job that's almost impossible. But what I've decided to do is say, okay, who's the audience? And you realise that in these audiences, they're often like grandparents or whatever, or people of a certain age who've got grandchildren. And the common thing that they all say is, my grandchild doesn't even know what coal is. Yeah. And you go, well, that's very interesting. And they don't know what the words are. And they don't know what they have no idea what I did here, and here. And I think, well, that's probably what I've got to do, or that's probably the subject of this sculpture. Yeah. That's the subtlety of a town that 20 years ago was thriving, 30 years ago was thriving with a certain culture, and that culture's disappeared. Yeah. And now we've got a whole generation sitting around us now that had granddads working in the pit. No. And you ask Levin or whoever it was today, you know, which one it was, and they're kind of like, it was Edlington, but I don't know, he lives there, but it might not have been. And the facts and the stories and the narratives are all a bit foggy, and they're not quite sure. So what you need is a place where people go, or a granddad or a patriarch or whatever goes with his grandson by the hand, and they go and they talk about this thing. And even in this instance of this little idea, they go, what is that boy playing with? And they go, I don't know, it's called a snap tin, lad. Do you know what a snap tin was? Yeah. And they go, no, what's a snap tin? You play cards with it? Go, no, it's where your food was. Yeah. You know, and that was kept like that because the mice were in your food. And off you go with the stories. Yeah. And if I can get a trigger with this sculpture that triggers conversations, because it's going to be here for generations, that grandson will go to his child. My granddad brought me here, and he told me what that was. Do you know what? Do you know what it was? And if I can get that in the sculpture, oh God, I've lost my way now. That's the. That's a trick, I think.
Yeah.
I think that would be a trick.
Don't make my head any bigger.
Oh dear. You're not here to tell me what I've got to do. You're here to tell me I'm brilliant.
Oh, you are.
I haven't used the hot plate yet. I was supposed to sizzle you a bit and smooth your skin.
Oh.
Like that. Hear it sizzle?
Yeah.
You get a bit of terps out later and you start to smooth it out. Your hair is important. Luckily, I was dreading a lot of hair. I'm dreading beards.
My hair used to be right down to me,
Yeah.
right down to my waist.
Really?
No good working down the pit with long hair.
No.
So I had it all cut off.
You were never in danger yourself. When you had to do rescues, for example, at Bentley, I know you don't want to talk about that, but did you go into a dangerous environment?
Yeah. I remember on my birthday, one birthday, I was getting changed to go out, and the phone rang. Pete answered the phone, and he said, "Don't put your glad rags on, get your jeans and your T-shirt on, because we've got to go back to the pit." Went back to Hatfield, and there were 3 men buried. And it was one thing that I'd always been scared of, because I used to think, what can I do if they're buried? I don't know what I can do. So Peter said, well, you can...
Who was Peter?
He was my husband.
Oh.
And he said, all you've got to do is be there. That's all they want. They want you to be there. So I got to the medical centre, and the manager was waiting for me, and he said, get your overalls on quick, we need to get down the pit quickly. Bring the amputation kit and oxygen and everything. So I got changed, and this is quite stupid actually, because I'd already started getting changed to go out, and I had a panty girdle on, and I couldn't leave that on because you can't wear nylon underground because it's static.
Contraband.
So I had no knickers on. So I put my overalls on and just hoped I had no splits in my overalls. And they said, where were you going? And I said, well, I was going out because it's my birthday. And the manager gave me a polo mint and said, happy birthday. And we got to the coalface, and they'd already got 2 of them out. And I examined them, and they weren't too bad. I sent them to DRI. But the 3rd man was buried up to his neck. And they'd put corrugated sheeting over the top of him to stop any more roof falling on him. And they said, well, we need you. We'll hold you upside down by your ankles, put you down this hole, and you've got to feel where he's buried, you know, what we can do to get him out. So they were holding me upside down by my ankles, and all I'm worried about is whether my overalls are split or what. And I'm feeling down his legs, you see, and all the men at the service are saying, lucky sod, she's feeling his legs now. And I said to them, pass me a Stanley knife, and they all then said, oh my God, she's going to cut his legs off. I said, no, I'm just going to cut his knee pads off because they're a bit tight. Anyway, we decided that he was buried in the sitting position, and I said to the manager...
So he's in coal?
He's buried.
The ceilings come down?
Yeah. So I said to the manager, well, you've got to get him out soon because he's going into shock, because he's been buried for nearly 2 hours. So they decided they'd try and get as much muck off him as they could, and then they'd have to pull him out, you know, which they did. And at that time, I really thought, I'm hanging upside down here, you know. Yeah. If this corrugated sheeting don't work, I'm buried with him, you know. Anyway, we got him out, and we got...
How did the guys get down and just start digging with shovels around him?
Yeah, well, they kept pulling bits, the pieces were big enough to get hold of, you know, and keep pulling bits
like
out.
boulders.
Yeah. Anyway, we said, right, get him onto the belt, and we'll get out as quickly as we can. So I thought that they'd put him on the belt behind me with the first aid man. I mean, I'd examined him thoroughly, his top half, and his arm was badly broken in 2 or 3 places. And the first aid man had examined him down below and said he couldn't find anything seriously wrong. So I presumed that they'd put him on the belt behind us, and they started the belt off to get us to the pit bottom, and we met the medical officer coming in, you see. So they stopped the belt, and the medical officer said, "Where's the patient, sister?" And I said, "Well, he wasn't there."
Oh, God, what?
I thought, God, he's fallen off the belt now.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, we all went running in, but the first aid man had decided there was quite a bit of coal on the belt, and it would be too uncomfortable for him, so they'd carry him out.
I took him off.
Anyway, we had to put a saline drip up down underground. That was the first time I'd ever done that. But we got a needle in because he was going into shock, so it was difficult. But Dr. MacDonald was a fantastic doctor, and he got the needle in, and we got the drip up, and we got him to the pit bottom, straight into the ambulance, and to the hospital.
Wow.
So
he was basically sitting in a bed in the ground.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Were his legs vertical, or was he like? Were they all?
He was in a sitting position.
So he literally, the stuff would come down. He'd sat down, and the stuff would come out behind.
Yeah.
So it was about 2 foot of rock and coal.
Yeah.
On the floor of the.
Yeah.
What is it? The face, the coal face.
Yeah, yeah. I think they were cutting a new coal face, and it just came down.
So how long would it take then? Okay, so you got the mine. That particular face is out of action, I presume.
Yeah.
How
Well,
long would it take
then when you get to the hospital, you see, they admitted him straight away, and he was taken to theatre because he needed his arm plating, with a plate, because it was badly broken. But then the mines inspector has to be informed, and it has to be registered as a bad incident because he's been admitted. So then there's a lot of wasted time re-examining and making reports and things like that. But he came back to work.
And was anything broken apart from?
No, just his arm. He was so lucky, so lucky. Charlie. And then the other bad one was a man he was jumping over the belt, and he caught his head on the corrugated sheeting, and it severed his temporal artery. They called me and said, could I go down the pit straight away, because he was bleeding and they couldn't stop it. So I got changed and rushed down. Luckily, he was quite near the pit bottom, so got changed and rushed in. And the only way we could stop the bleeding was if we bandaged my fist to his temporal artery and put the bandage on tight. So
Bandaged your fist?
My fist to his temporal artery, so that gave a lot of pressure, which we couldn't get with an ordinary bandage and pad. So I was bandaged to his head, and we travelled to the hospital like that. And I said to the first aid man, he's going a very funny colour. I don't like this at all. Stop the ambulance. So they stopped the ambulance, and when I felt whoever had bandaged his head first had put the cotton bandage round his neck, and all the blood had tightened the cotton bandage, and we were actually choking.
Strangling.
So we cut the bandage and left my bandage to his head, and we got him into casualty. And there was one particular staff nurse in casualty who didn't like me, and I said to her, I need a doctor straight away, because we need a transfusion straight away. He's lost so much blood.
Are you still bandaged to his head?
Yeah, well, we took that off and managed to put a strong pad on it, and she said, I better just take his blood pressure. I said, you stupid cow, he's bleeding to death. And everybody in casualty heard me, of course, and the doctor came in to ask what all the trouble was and took one look, and when we lifted him off the stretcher was full of blood, his boots were full of blood, and of course they transfused him straight away. And when we were going back in the ambulance, the first aid man said to the driver, she swore. I said, what did you mean? He said, she swore. She used awful words. It was quite obscene. I said, don't be ridiculous. He said, you did, sister, you did. I heard you. Oh, my God. Anyway, we met the man's wife was coming into casualty as we were going out, and she was a staff nurse. So I told her what had happened, and I said, they're taking him straight up to theatre, and he's got a dripping and everything. So she followed on, she thanked us, and then she followed on. And he survived as well. Yeah. And I used to get a bottle of whiskey every year from him at Christmas. Yeah. But he came back to work.
I can't believe you were bandaged to his... So you actually, your fist was in his head?
Yeah.
The whole bandage was covering your arm up to your elbow? Or?
No, just my
just around
fist.
your wrist. So you were pressurised. Was that wasn't normal procedure?
No. Well, it was the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
Because we'd put a big... I mean, down in the first aid boxes, you had big pads of cotton wool and bandage, which you used to put on something to stop bleeding. But in this case, it wasn't working. So the only thing was to get digital pressure, and that was the only way we could do it.
Digital pressure?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Digital pressure?
Yeah.
Was that a term?
That's a term. Yeah.
Digital pressure.
You've learnt something else.
That's interesting. Digital pressure. I love that image. I mean, as a sculptor, that is gold dust.
It's digital pressure. It's something that you apply if somebody has a cut and you can't stop it. You put your fingers on it, press on it.
Brilliant. So I'm quite interested in the idea that you're actually being creative down there. Like, so you're not responding to...
I'm not a conventional nurse.
Yeah, so you're actually going, this is the situation.
Yeah.
I've got to bandage my fist to this bloke's head to get him out of here. This is in no textbook. It's in no... Yeah. This is me thinking on the hoof.
Yeah. They all thought it was a good idea. So.
And that's...
Until we nearly strangled him.
Yeah.
I told him when he came back to work, I said, I've got to tell you something. So he said, what's that? And I said, when we were on the way to the hospital, he nearly died. So he said, did I lose that much blood? I said, no, we were strangling you. He just laughed. He said, I'm not surprised.
So he was out. Was he conscious?
No. He lost consciousness quite soon after.
So was he coming out? He was on a stretcher?
Yeah.
And you were trotting along beside him, as it were?
Yeah. Don't ask me how we do it. I've tried to work it out myself, and I just can't imagine it. So
you're basically in shock as well?
Yeah. I wouldn't admit that.
No, it's a high, what's the word, high stress situation, isn't it?
And it was funny because I wrote about that case in my book.
Yeah.
And...
Karen, looking forward. No, Joan wanted to sit at ground level. She wanted to see me suffer.
So she should.
Yeah, so look at me, I'm on the blooming knees to her. This is exactly where you want me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll be honest, Joan, I've waited to see him do some work. It's only me and Joan have played that bit of work. So
can I have a drop more water, please?
She can. She's wrote me straight back on.
Thank you. You could put a large...
Get him out of the room, Joan. Get him out of the room. Get a bit cocky. It's all his voices off camera.
So...
So when this happened under the pit, how are the other guys? I mean, does the pit close?
No.
So for you have this accident.
In many years ago, in the old days, if anybody was killed at a pit, they would shut the pit. That was when it was private management.
All right.
But when the NCB took over, they didn't shut the pit.
Really?
They maybe said, sound the siren, so that everybody in the village would know there'd been a fatality. But
well, that's great. That really helps, doesn't it?
yeah.
So in a funny sort of way, the NCB were kind of more, not callous, but more kind of insensitive in that sense.
They were just business, weren't they?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, you'd think that the private miner or the private mine would be a kind of a place where they sort of, you know, were kind of out for the money and the rights of the miners, etc. weren't appreciated.
The private mines, the owners were far more family oriented.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But it was funny because we had to change a lot of the names in the book.
Oh, right.
You know, because we didn't want people to sort of think we'd pick them out and everything. And we were giving a talk at Hatfield Library, and I was telling them about this man that they asked me to go down the pit to because his finger was trapped in the machinery and they couldn't get it out. And he asked for me.
Hang on, couldn't get the finger out or his hand out?
His finger and his hand were in it, and it was, if they pulled it too much, they'd leave the finger behind.
Oh, God.
And he wanted the sister to come down and decide what was to be done. So I went down to him and we loosened a few screws and bent and put some diesel oil and stuff on his finger, and we did get his hand out.
Diesel oil on his finger?
Yeah, well,
Good.
to loosen it, to get it out. So when we're reading in the book, and I'm telling them about this man who had his finger trapped and nearly lost his finger, and this voice said, "That's me, page 18,
No.
chapter 4. I said, "You're not supposed to know it's you." He said, "I knew it were me," he said.
Really? And did his finger get put back on?
Yeah,
Or did he put his hand up and you go, "It was you"?
Oh, no, he didn't lose it, but he managed to save it.
Really?
But the funny part about that one was, thank you, his wife worked at the local garage, and I called in the ambulance to tell her that he'd been admitted to the hospital for an operation on his hand, and she said, "Well, he'll just have to wait till I finish my shift."
Jeez.
I said, "Well, he wants some cigarettes. He's asking you for some cigarettes."
Who's your hairdresser?
I don't have a hairdresser.
You do it yourself? Do you?
Yeah.
Very good. I was going to go there myself. Got some scissors. Hair is really hard. Really hard.
Yeah. Must be.
I don't know how I'm going to get it right, really, to be honest. Get your hairstyle.
It don't really matter, does it?
I want you to go, "That's me to a T, and he's brilliant, that bloke. He's brilliant." You wouldn't believe it. It was a miracle happening before my eyes. Say as I prayed to you.
How are you finding modelling in such a strict time frame, Laurence?
Stressful.
Good.
I'm sweating away. It's very interesting because I don't usually. You don't realise what your normal working habits are. You realise you do probably have a break,
Yeah.
go to the toilet or something, make a cup of tea.
10 to 12.
God, really? Thanks. Well, you should give me time checks. We've got 10 minutes to go.
I was told to show up, wasn't I?
That went very quickly, actually. I thought we were about an hour to go. I
It
was
has
quite
gone.
relaxed.
We won't have to be long because I go to bed in the afternoon.
God.
I have to go for an afternoon nap at 1:30.
Okay, hot knife. Got to get some surgery in now. We've got to hurry up. Sizzle. This is my worry. I've got to get that sense of a different texture.
Don't forget to put the waves in it.
If I was telling you your job, you'd be really angry.
I would.
Exactly, so, you know.
You couldn't do my job.
Well, thank you. I do use a lot of plaster. The audience are now sniggering at the look of this sculpture.
Don't worry about the floor, we'll just get you to sign it later.
I was told wax came off this floor. Anyway, Joan doesn't mind doing another hour, do you, Joan?
I look about 90.
It's only 5 years out. That's pretty good. Whoops, lady.
You're not supposed to say that. Your age is supposed to be a secret.
When I give you hair, each piece of wax I put on your hair will take 6 months off. Okay?
Yeah.
So be patient in the last 10 minutes, and we'll bring the age down.
To 85.
I could do with some of that wax, I think, Joe. Or just hair.
Well, you ruin your own hair because you rub all this stuff on it. All this wax and...
Oh dear. From close up, you think, then you do that. You think, not far. You're never going to see this again.
I hope not if it looks like that.
I think he's had an easy journey so far, Joan, so I'm proud that such a strong woman's come in and given him an absolute hiding.
She's the first.
Imagine if it gets progressively worse for him.
Don't worry, Joan, I'm behind you now.
I know. That's what worries me.
I just need to get your head sheets.
So do you know when you did your other moulds of heads of the
She's talking to you and me.
people that you showed, how long did it take to make them ones?
The moulds of the heads of the people at the what?
Do you know, like, you've got a series of heads that were in the presentation?
Portraits.
Portraits.
Yeah. Well, they can take... What usually happens in that scenario is that people are coming once a week for an afternoon, and they sit for about 3 or 4 hours, and then you're modelling, and you start from a skull with the measurement with the calipers and all that, and you build up. You know when you watch on the telly, they recreate the caveman or Neolithic man from a bone or something, and they imagine what the skin's like on top of that sort of stuff, and they get all that sort of clay out and go over a skull. Well, it's very much like that. So you get a skull, and then you work over the skull as you feel the density of flesh there, and you start to think, okay, that's hard mark making, that's lovely and soft mark making. And that's, I told you I wasn't going to touch your head. And then you start to build up clay in the kind of different densities around a skull. And that takes a couple of weeks of sits. And then slowly...
I'm worried about you chewing all this stuff.
The world was very interested in my modus operandi, and all you're worried about.
I'm worried about your stomach. You should be starting to take antacid medicine.
I think the more nervous I am, the more I do it.
Look at him.
I'm rushing now. I didn't realise I had 10 minutes left. I want to give you some nice curls.
Never mind the curls, get rid of the wrinkles.
I need some white spirit for that.
Need some new skin.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take photographs of you, and I can finish it off later on.
Actually, I look a bit like Julie Dench.
Oh, yeah. Is that a compliment?
Might
She's
not
younger
be-
than you, isn't she?
It might not be to her.
She's younger than you, I think.
About 5 years, I think. Everybody's younger than me these days.
Do you like getting older?
No, I don't. I
No?
hate it. But you can't stop it, can you?
Do you like the fact that people listen to you more? And you like they want to hear your stories?
Yeah, I like it when they respond, you
Yeah.
know, because it means they're starting to realise that there were other lives, you know. I watched The Queen the other day. I think she's
Yeah.
just the most fantastic woman.
She got a lot of criticism, actually. People said
Yeah.
she was very stern, or...
You better wear goggles as well.
I know, yeah. You should do, really. But I thought she was quite good.
I thought you were fantastic.
Yeah. I'm not a royalist, mind you,
I'm not, but
but
I
as a
admire her.
person, I think she was...
She's had a lot to put up with in her life.
Yeah.
And I see Princess Eugenie's going to get married now.
Yeah.
She's another waste of space and money.
Oh dear, watch out, this is a bit public. Be careful, I warn you, you're being recorded.
Oh, sorry. She's a lovely girl.
Well...
Wipe that bit out.
Yeah, edit that.
Although everybody's got a bit personal opinion, haven't they?
Yeah. But also, I mean, our opinions are very much based on the way the media presents these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know them, or we don't know them, do we?
No.
You might know them, I don't know. Have you ever met the Queen?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you had awards?
No. She came and opened a cyclotron unit soon after her father died.
A what?
A cyclotron. It produces neutrons which treat cancer.
Oh, right.
And she came to open our new unit. Her dad had just died, actually, so she was interested, of course.
Gosh, that was quite early on.
And she was beautiful.
Yeah.
She was so petite and really beautiful. And Prince Philip was so handsome.
He was a bit of a dreamboat, wasn't he?
Oh, God.
You're nearly there, Joan.
Good, because I'm getting cramp in my bum. Edit that as well.
No secrets here, isn't it? Maybe 2 hours is a bit too long.
It's only because I've lost a stone and I'm not as well padded as I used to be.
What's the stone? Intentionally or?
Well, no, because I thought I had cancer.
Oh, right. You thought you did, or?
I thought I did, yeah. And I didn't do anything about it. I just whittled myself. But it isn't, so I'm pleased to say.
Brilliant. What I need is a little bit of white spirit, actually, to smooth you out, believe it or not.
Oh, good.
So you won't worry about that. But I won't have got it here soon. I feel a bit like one of those guys at the fairground who's doing quick portraits of people, you know, on the street side.
Oh, I had some lovely ones done. They kept telling me I was photogenic.
You have a very sculptural face.
Thank you.
Do you think that was a compliment?
Yeah. I hope it was. If it wasn't, I'll come back and haunt you.
Come back and haunt me. You'll be forever in my life from now on. My sculptures live with me.
Oh, well.
I will remember this. Do you really cut your own hair?
Yes, I don't do it very well, actually, but every now and again I have to see a professional.
Yeah.
I saw a professional because I was seeing you.
Oh, very good. Well, I'm trying to put some effort into it.
My taxi driver will think I've taken residence, won't
Is he waiting?
he? No. I've got to phone him when I'm ready.
Where do you live?
Barnby Dun.
Where?
Barnby Dun.
Barnby Dun.
Do you need white spirit, Laurence?
Have you got some?
I can find some.
Yeah. That'd be great.
You're quite clever, actually. I'm quite impressed.
We've got it recorded. That's good news.
No, well, it's impressive when somebody can take a piece of clay and make a face out of it, even though it looks hideous.
It doesn't look hideous. It's not hideous. All right? For the cameras, can you say you're really, really impressed?
I'm very impressed.
And it looks just like you.
And it looks just like me.
Oh, you were just saying that.
I'm not. No, I never say anything I don't mean.
It doesn't look a bit like Judi Dench.
Yeah.
You're right. But at least we've got a woman
Yeah.
of a certain age and the right kind of nationality.
Yeah.
And that's something to work on, I say.
Yeah.
I did do monkeys. We don't know a lot of monkeys, so that's good.
What am I supposed to deduct from that?
Well, you don't know a lot of them. I mean, I might have been the type of sculptor that couldn't do anything other than
Yeah.
stuff that looked like monkeys. I really like doing chimpanzees.
I don't want to get old, you see, that's the trouble.
Well, you're doing a very good job. I think you... Can you do that? Not quite. Pretend I'm interesting. At the beginning of the sitting, you were doing lots of interesting faces, like looking interested at me. By the end, you might be getting a bit bored of me, actually, mightn't you? I'll probably do another hour on you.
Without me
Back at
being
the
sat
studio,
here.
back at the studio. Probably it's invaluable, this time spent with you.
You definitely need some new pads, knee pads,
Yeah, I do, yeah.
and stomach mixture.
I've never thought of that.
Or at least you should use a mouthwash thing.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, and this is a fact, you're probably one of the first people ever to see me do this. I've never done this in front of someone before.
Oh,
So I don't realise I'm putting it in my mouth.
no, you are too much.
And now, I'm aware that it's happening. Because you sit there, in your own little world, sort of chewing away. It takes someone to notice it before you realise what you're doing.
It's not good for you. It's not a normal thing to do, is it?
No. I feel like rebellious now.
You're not doing another one today, are you?
I've got 3 today.
Have you heard?
Yeah. Doing 6 in 2 days. Thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Very brave. I'm going to give you, would you like one of these when I make a mould? Would you like a copy?
Yeah, yeah, I would, very much.
Really?
Honestly.
I'll give you one because
My family would love it.
yeah.
My sister.
Well, I'm going to give people a cast of each one as a thank you.
How do we need this white spirit on us? How do we need
I just need to dip my finger in the lid.
So if I, what, just in the lid or just
Sorry,
in
Joan.
a little cup?
Just a lid of it, really. So I can smooth Joan out a bit.
He's been whispering sweet nothings in
I
my
have not.
You told me I was the only one looking at it.
Whispering sweet nothing.
Be careful that you're using all this stuff I really don't approve.
No, I can assure you. It's
You
not,
should wear goggles when you use those knife things because it would spit in your eye, and you should use a mouthwash with that horrible stuff you chew,
Would you like some?
and knee pads when you get down on your knees. You're getting older, you know.
I have to say, you've given me a very good health and safety evaluation.
I know. I'm used
But
to
you're
that.
frowning now, and it might end up in the sculpture, so be careful.
Oh.
It's better telling me I'm wonderful. It's much, much nicer face.
You are wonderful.
Just choked in a bit of that. Yes, please.
But
Now,
do be careful because
thank you. I take it on board. Start to see how we're looking things. Just take out. Yeah, it's got a bit of you. There's a bit of you in there. The raised eyebrow is quite nice.
that's horror.
It's the spirit. The spirit. I'm just going to get rid of some lumps.
I didn't realise I had so many.
You haven't. Don't think this is an impression of you, not a reality.
No wonder these models get all this money. They have to sit for hours, don't they? Fancy sitting like this with no clothes on for hours. You're frozen.
You're lucky we didn't ask you to do that.
I know.
That's why we turn the heating up.
You'd have a shock if you did.
What's the time, guys?
9 minutes past 12.
Oh no. I'm enjoying this now. I need to take some photographs of Joe. Could you get my iPad out of my bag?
I can. I've also got the studio set up.
Great. I just need my own kind of reference ones. Because I'm going to do another hour on you. There's a lightness in the hair I need to get. I'm amazed how quickly that went in the end.
Yeah, it has.
When we did half hour, I thought, and you kept going, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say. I thought we'd had it. Thank you. Excuse me, John, I'm just going to, if it's all right with you. Smile a little bit. Not that much, just a... It's the side profiles I need. If you look straight ahead, please. I had to do a shake. Sheikh Mohammed. I won't say his name. Sheikh was worth 300 billion. No, how much was he worth? 27 billion. And his people came to me and said, would you do the Sheikh's head? I said, yeah. Well, when do I meet him? They go, you will not meet the Sheikh. I go, really? He said, yes, he doesn't really. I said, okay. So they said, we will get professional photographers and photograph him, and you will make a sculpture from his photographs. So I got these shots of him all over, and I had to make a sculpture just from these photographs. And I sent them to him. He said, very good, thank you very much. It is a bit rough. So I said, oh really? He said, can we have him smooth, please? I said, so I did one rough, and then we made a plaster, and then we got a load of sandpaper out, and we just sanded him down, sanded him completely down till he was shiny. And then they were very happy. They had five casts put all over the world.
Oh.
It's extraordinary. Anyway, thank you, Joan. That's great.
That's it, is it?
That's it, there we go. Want to have a look at it? Want to hold it?
This camera.
No, I don't want to hold it.
No? There's your side profile. Do you recognise that?
Yeah, that's quite good. Have you got my nose quite well? Yeah.
And I'm now beginning to get your head shape.
Yeah.
So beginning to get that sense of thing. And I think by the time I've smoothed out, I'm beginning to smooth out here, around here.
Yeah.
By the time I've taken that down, I'm going to even up, for example, your cheekbone there. What I do is I need a break from it. That's
Yeah.
what you need. So that's when you have these double sittings and treble sittings, because you need to actually, you can see what the problems are.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Joan.
Thank you. Enjoyed that. I didn't think I would, but
No, I really appreciate it because it's a strange thing to come and have done. I can, whenever I'm upset now, I can flick it. But Joan, be quiet.
I might just spit back at you.
I might put some wax in your mouth. I can't stop fiddling, so you'll have to move, otherwise it will never stop. So I'm going to take it back to the foundry. My guys are going to make a mould of it, which is a rubber mould.
Yeah.
So it's then covered in rubber, painted, and then we have plaster cases on that, and then we have a mould, and we can do an addition, what's called an addition. You can do create 12 or 13 of these. So I'm going to give you a plaster, so it'll be mounted on a block like that.
That'd be lovely.
And you'll get a plaster, and I'll even sign it.
Oh, that's very good.
And then we'll do a bronze, and they'll be exhibited at various places around Doncaster with Sister Heart as the title.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day we'll be able to borrow one of your cheques with your name on it and make a mould of it.
Yeah.
And then we can cast that and we can probably put that on the actual monument.
Yeah.
So your name will be on the actual monument.
Yeah. Oh, well, when
Because I
you
think-
want to bother them, just let me know.
I think you're one of the big characters of the area, aren't you? Important person. Thank you very much.
Okie doke. I'm going to have a job standing up now.
So I'm going to give you a lift.
Yeah.
Waxy hand. Oh, well done. Brilliant.
Thank you.
What we'll do, Joan, we'll just get your portrait before you leave. We'll set up a little studio just so that we can continue, continue this project.
Just give me.
Yeah, I'll just spin it around for you.
I get very stiff when I'm up.
You okay?
Okay. I mustn't go without my book.
Don't forget your book, Joan. I'm going to get a copy. That's Harper & Collins, is it? Harper Collins.
That's a picture of it.
Did you? Oh, brilliant. Have you? Oh, fantastic.
Hi, Joan. I'm Joan.
Oh.
So I sneaked into the
Yeah, all the time, yeah.
I worked on